In this PowerPoint, I'm going to show you several examples of the cherished object assignment completed by previous students. As you view these images, I would like you to think about three important things. First, I would like you to think about how pictorial space is organized within these compositions. Notice how various artists interpret the concept of border. Notice how they present the same object from different views or different perspectives. The next thing I want you to consider is how content or meaning was conveyed through these drawings. Think about how imagery and symbolism and composition were used to help to express the artist's idea. And finally, I would like you to notice the hatching technique used by these artists. I would like you to notice that several of these drawings contain a variety of different techniques. I want you to think about how the various techniques were used and how appropriate they were to that particular image. In this drawing, the artist uses skulls and footprints to create the border and to help lead the eye around the composition. And notice that the hatching technique changes when the artist moves to the raccoon body. The technique is used to better describe the fur. But also notice how delicate and soft the hatching is in the rest of the drawing. A couple of things that I want you to notice about this powerful drawing. Notice how the symbol for female is transparent in ways. You can see the things that are going on behind it. I think that's really nice and sophisticated. I also like the way the symbol was sort of transformed into using facets into a gemstone. If you look around the outside border of this composition, you'll notice that there are a series of gemstones, and that symbol was sort of translated in the same sort of way. But I really like the transparency, how you can see through that symbol and you can see the images behind it. In this drawing, we have the familiar image of Rosie the Riveter and a pair of red Converse tennis shoes. If you're not familiar with Rosie, this image was made famous on a poster during World War II. The caption read something like, "We can do it." In this drawing, the red in Rosie's bandana is a symbol of power. During the critique, the artist of this work mentioned to us that the red Converse tennis shoes were her symbol of power, and that she felt strong and confident when she wore them. One thing you'll notice about this group of drawings is that they are not a series of dark objects in a light space. Notice that the environment in all of these drawings has been dealt with using the ink. There's not a bunch of white paper showing through. That's an important consideration. This drawing does an especially nice job of dealing with that. Notice that the stuffed animal there is existing inside some sort of wooden crate or box or environment. Also notice that a timeline is described through the use of the Polaroid picture. Each of those photographs has a date and shows the artist and his stuffed animal as they move through time. The use of the "Only You Can Prevent Forest Fire" posters and the Smokey the Bear belt buckle make a really nice border in this composition. This especially nice drawing was an attempt by the artist to represent her Native American heritage. Notice the way symbolic pattern was used on the turtle and as part of the border. Also notice the pattern used on the blanket. And notice the subtle transition from the dark environment to the white of the border. That's really nice and sophisticated. This artist uses sharp value contrasts to create a bold and dramatic drawing. The undulating vine contains the drawing and creates a really interesting environment for birds and flowers and leaves. And notice the juxtaposition of the symbols of birth and death in the center with the skull and the eggs. A really nice, well thought out drawing. I haven't talked much about color in the other drawings, so I want to mention it at this point. If you flip back through these slides, you'll see that the symbol for female used pink as a color, and Rosie the Riveter used red, and the baby used turquoise as a color. And in this drawing, yellow is obviously the color that the artist has chosen to represent light. And it allows the artist to direct your focus towards that symbolic image in the center. So remember, you can use a single color. It has to be in the form of ink somehow, which means it could be a marker. I guess it probably limits it to a marker. But I want you to use one color. I want you to think about the symbolic use of color, and I want you to use it sparingly. Go back through these images and see how each of these artists has used color in their drawing.